Hello, legendary listeners, and welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. Morgan is out this week, but Kat and I are here to discuss the Oscar nominations that came out just yesterday. Because there were quite a few snubs.
A
There
lot of
are
hot takes.
a lot of hot takes on this. A lot of people who have some thoughts, especially given that it was supposed to be a year that has a much more diverse voting crowd, and that seemed to work in the favor of some films but did not cut it for the others, and there are reasons behind it.
We'll talk
And if
about
you
Barbie.
Yeah, we'll talk, and the best director noms, because I learned
Yeah.
something about how they vote that I did not know.
Mm.
So Kat's gonna lead the discussion because she's our resident Oscar movie fan slash watcher. You've
I'm the
seen
Yeah, go on.
most of them? Like, you've
Yeah,
seen
most of
most of the ones
them.
that were
I've
nominated?
seen
Yeah.
most of the films. I'll tell you which ones I've seen as we go along. I've also
Okay.
watched the Oscars every year since like grammar school. So I've
That's
been
so
been doing
cute.
this for a long time. And out of everyone I know, no one ever wants to watch the Oscars. I ask everybody, I'm like, do you want to watch the Oscars? Like, no, like I'll watch the movies. I have one friend that he likes the Oscars and we like watching it together. And we've seen it
Mhm.
every once. He's like my child. He's like my childhood best friend. So we'd like watch it growing up. But work, it's always on Sunday. So it ends at 12. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, we want to watch it together, but he can't stay up that late. So it's like, oh, and I want to watch it live. So we'll see. I might be watching the Oscars myself. But I love doing like Oscar like guessing. So what me and him
Yeah.
would usually do is just like put our votes, and then whoever would win like picks a movie to watch or something.
So let's break down, because okay, so I
Mm.
I love awards season, I love Oscars, I love film, but I rarely, especially as an adult, I didn't as a kid. These types of films were not accessible to me as a kid. This was not something we watched growing up. Um, but even as an adult, I find that I quite simply don't have time, and my
Mm.
area of focus, if I do have time to watch the things, it's in television. Like, television
Sure.
is where I'm going to put my energy. We've all got that thing. So the Oscar films, I've not seen a lot of them, but I also am still learning about how the Oscars voting process works. So our resident expert, Kat, can you break it down for me? What is, like, how, what are the teams? Are there teams? Are there specific committees? How does this work?
From what I understand, there is a committee. So there's like the
Mm-hmm.
overall committee for the Oscars, and then there's people that are in the industry that get to vote and like mail in their votes. That's from what I understand. I honestly
Okay.
don't have like a huge grasp on it, but that's the bare minimum I understand of the voting process.
And so can anyone who's been who anybody who's
Nominated?
in that can like any is every category available for everyone to vote on? Because I heard that recently that only certain people can vote in the best director category, and it has to be people who were at some point nominated. Oh, here we go. Okay. All members vote on best picture, while peers vote for nominees and winners in the other non-specialized categories. Directors vote for best director, actors for
That makes
best
sense.
actor, etc., etc. Um let's see. The 5,500 voting members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences choose the nominees for each award, as well as the winner among the 5 nominees. Let's see. How
Yeah,
exactly
I
do the
think
nominees get
that's the
chosen?
committee. Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
committee, and then they send out, from what I understand, they send out that way people could vote, I guess. Or maybe that they're part,
So
maybe the 55 is part of the voting process. I'm not actually sure on that.
the exact quota. Let's see.
You guys know the inner workings of the Oscars, let us know. Um, yeah, but one thing I definitely want to mention that we are going to talk about, we'll go down the list of everything and talk about other award ceremonies. Like the Golden Globes is really usually a big determinant of what's going to be nominated and what's going to win the Oscars. Sometimes, they go left, and it's very different because they have categories for drama and comedy, so it does make it
Mm-hmm.
a little mix matched. And yeah, also the SAG Awards, stuff like that, everything's happening now, and most of the time it's the same people being nominated
Mm-hmm.
and winning.
Yeah. Um, and I think that, I mean, it makes the predictability, quote unquote, of this show a little bit
But
like,
sometimes they surprise you. Well, that's what I love about the Oscars, is that sometimes you're like,
yeah.
"Whoa, that person just won," or there's obviously the live factor. There's the La La Land situation with Moonlight, and then there's the Will Smith thing. Like there's always something interesting that happens. So it's definitely the live factor of it all as well.
I think like the hot takes for this year, especially with the Oscars, it kind of comes more towards the end of award season, is that you're
Sure.
kind of expecting certain things to have been
Mhm.
nominated, and when they don't, it feels more like a snub than if it had happened a month ago. So, do we want to break down each category? Do we want to talk about the hot takes? How do you want to go?
Let's talk about each category and we can talk about
Okay.
the hot takes from there. I know one hot
Okay.
take that not related to a category is
Okay.
people are saying that Saltburn should have been nominated. I don't know if you know anything about Saltburn. I'm guessing with that face, you know a little
I
bit
know
about it.
enough to know that I was disgusted by the idea
It's a fun
of a
movie.
particular scene.
It's fun. I'll say that. We went to go see it. Again, we just like seeing random movies sometimes, but we went to go. We was between that and like some action movie, and Marianne wanted to go see it. So one of my friends, and she's like, "Oh, let's just go see it. It looks, I like Euphoria, and the guy from Euphoria is in it." I'm like, yeah, I know nothing about this movie. And I remember walking out and being like, I felt something about it. They did something weird. Is it Oscar worthy? No, I don't think so. But it's a weird little movie that I had a good time with.
I had someone tell me that yesterday. She was like, "I don't understand how it keeps getting nominated. It's not that it's interesting, but what did it really do that stood?"
Well, it hasn't even been nominated. It's been nominated for nothing. People are just complaining
But
that it should have been nominated.
what about no, but like previously for didn't it
Yeah,
get
it hasn't been
nominated
nominated for
earlier?
anything. Nope.
Didn't
Saltburn
Rosamund
hasn't
Pike?
been. I don't think so. Let's look. Saltburn, Wikipedia. If she got nominated, she's the only person who got nominated. Definitely the film wasn't. Let's see. Awards, accolades. Okay. Golden Globes. Yeah. There's Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress. That's it. So it didn't get Best
Okay.
Picture or anything.
Okay. Okay.
But honestly, it got a good amount of awards from like the others, like the film festival circuit, which makes sense, would do pretty well. But Critics' Choice Award actually was Best Picture. But
Oh,
yeah, it was not.
cat.
What?
Straight up earthquake.
Really?
Yeah,
On camera?
right now.
Oh my! Is it bad?
No, not at
Okay,
all. But
that's
that was
wild.
really cool because Rowan barked
Oh,
like I felt it, and then Rowan
mhm.
barked. Whew, that was it.
That's a
That
thrill.
was a San Diego. Is it still going?
You guys are seeing it here first.
There was a little secondary tremor there. Yeah, that was like a San Diego nice earthquake. Like you could feel it a little bit. It feels like if you're on the second story of a building, imagine if
I
all
felt
the
the earthquake once
yeah,
because
it's
in
like
New
if
York.
all the garage doors beneath you were to open up,
Mm,
but there was no
mm,
sound. That's kind of what it feels like. So
interesting.
now I'm gonna look up. I really hope I'm not hallucinating on live camera. There's an
Well, wait, there's
earthquake.
I mean, your dog did bark twice, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing there was an earthquake.
Well, nothing has posted yet, so maybe
Mm.
I'm just hallucinating. Maybe someone did open the garage door beneath.
There was a garage door that phantomly opened. San
That's
Diego
funny.
earthquake. Let's see.
Yeah,
Usually,
because usually it pops up within. Oh, yep, 4.5.
yep.
1
Yeah,
mile from San
there
Bernardino.
was.
That was okay. You want to know how nerdy I am? I didn't say it, and
Mm.
I really should have. I almost said that felt like a 4.3 because
You
we
sound
had
like
a
my brother.
4.3 a couple weeks ago, and it felt just like that. And I was in almost the exact same space.
Wow.
Anywho, this has been Earthquake with San Diego. That's also wild that in all my years of life, I've only felt earthquakes in the last 4 years or so, and this year I
Mm.
felt two within 2 weeks of each other.
Wow.
Woo!
Well, hopefully that doesn't mean there's no big
So we're gonna
earthquakes
fall
coming.
off into the ocean.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not anytime
Hopefully
soon.
after the Oscars.
Yeah, after the Oscars would be really timely because I don't look. There's no Oscars if California is gone.
Yep.
So let's hope that doesn't happen. But we're gonna go down the list. So Saltburn, yeah, I didn't get
Yeah.
anything. I am still not surprised because again, the Golden Globes also has a comedy element and then drama
Mhm.
element. I don't really know where Saltburn would lay on that one, but it has more
Yeah.
opportunity to have more movies involved. The
Mhm.
Oscars, they kind of limit a little bit. So I'm
Mhm.
not surprised by that one. But let's do supporting actor. So we got Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction, Robert De Niro, Killers of Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, we're going to talk about it, and Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. Now, I've seen obviously Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Killers of the Flower Moon, which I really, really
Mhm.
liked. I have not seen
Yes.
American Fiction yet. And I desperately want to go see Poor Things before the Oscars. So I most likely
Me
will watch Poor
too.
Things
With
before
all the
that.
buzz it's getting, like
Yeah.
it looks great, and
Looks a little
looks up my
wacky.
alley.
It looks
Yeah.
up very much your alley. I'm a little scared. I don't know if it looks up Cat's alley, but I heard it's, again, a little wacky.
Yeah. It'll be intriguing for me. I'll be curious to see it.
A little side note, and then we'll go to supporting actor. This
Yeah.
weekend, I finally got my friends to watch Whiplash, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's funny because Marianne, my friend, I've been begging her to watch this movie in particular because she really likes music, and I'm like, I think you'll really like this movie. And she's like, No, 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 I'm not going. I don't want to watch it. And then one day we
Mhm.
were playing like a board game, and we were on alliances and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna win, blah blah blah. And she's like, I'll make a deal with you. I'll watch
Mhm.
Whiplash if you do this thing in this game. I was like, hell yeah, this is the moment you do for a game? Sure. This is the moment you want to watch Whiplash. So finally I'm getting to watch Whiplash, which was an Oscar movie. And it's genuinely one of my favorite movies of all time. I honestly think you'd appreciate it, Amy. It's
Where
all
can I
about
watch it?
Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah. It's 90
add to the
minutes. It's a
list.
very
Done.
easy movie.
We'll add it
Nah,
right now.
it makes your heart pump for sure. The only trigger warning I'll say is that, I don't know if you know anything about the movie, but the guy who's the teacher's an asshole and like pretty verbally abusive to the main character. That's like kind of the whole
Okay.
point of the movie. But it's really, really good. I very much recommend it. Anyway, supporting actors. Robert Downey Jr. is going to win. He's won every other award. I don't know why.
Yeah.
He's such a forgettable portion of Oppenheimer to me, but he has
Uh-huh.
won every award, so he's most likely going to win this. Now, have you seen Oppenheimer?
I have not.
I'm
That
shocked by that.
which is genuinely a tragedy for me. A lot of
Mm,
it was just because the time it came out, work schedule, family stuff, like it has not been possible. So I've been
right.
waiting for it to release on like at home
Which I
options, and
think just
I
did.
think it's coming out on Paramount Plus
Okay.
very
Streaming
shortly.
date. Let's see. February 16th. So yeah, it's coming out
So I am
really, really
waiting
soon.
until, yeah, I'm gonna wait. And actually, that's the day after my birthday. So maybe I'll watch a movie about atomic destruction for my birthday. But
It's a solid movie. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is the shining star of it, but it's a solid movie. It just missed my top 10 for the year, but it was good.
did Cillian Murphy get nominated?
Well, we'll find out. I think he did though. But yeah, let's talk about the Ryan
Okay.
Gosling thing. So the big controversy is that Ryan Gosling got nominated for Barbie, but Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie did not. Some people are on the fence of they made a really good movie. They are nominated for Best Picture. That is what they should be nominated for. Obviously, on the other side of the fence, which everyone else is on, uh, the whole movie's about women and feminism, and they don't get nominated. And obviously, we'll talk about America Ferrera and all that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't get nominated for their directing
They basically brought
category.
the world to life.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's almost like you couldn't have scripted it better. Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie write a story about rising up against the patriarchy and the power of feminism to not get nominated for it so that the male main character gets nominated. Like it almost sounds like something out of a parody, like something SNL would do. Like how can that really have happened? Um and part of me wonders if it was the kind of thing where people go, but is a cultural phenomenon really worth nominating?
No, I
And
mean it had a lot of it had a lot of story behind it. And it was like crap. It was a well crafted film, and already the big thing is it's been nominated for other awards, and they were
Yeah.
nominated in those categories. They didn't win, but they were nominated.
And I think realistically, the reality that a show about Barbie did this well goes to the is a testament to the storytelling and the craft that Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie put into this. And so for them not to get nominated just feels like it really missed the mark.
And
Did you
female
see what Ryan Gosling
directors,
said?
I
Oh,
didn't.
sorry, go
You
ahead.
mentioned it. I was gonna say female directors also aren't nominated very often. So I think the first female director that won was the like 15 years ago. I forget. It was a war movie. I forget what it was called. But yeah, that was the first one who was ever won. But go on. What did Ryan Gosling say?
Um, he says, I still haven't really been able to get my feelings around it. Like, I was incredibly disappointed that they weren't nominated. Greta has done just about. Oh no! And then America Ferrera said Greta has done just about everything a director could do, creating this world and taking something that didn't have inherent value to most people and making it a global phenomenon. Feels disappointing to not see her on that list.
And I
Ryan
don't think there's
Gosling goes.
any female directors? Question mark.
I don't think so. Um, Ryan Gosling goes on and says, against all odds, with nothing but a couple soulless, scantily clad, and thankfully crotchless dolls, they made us laugh, broke our hearts, and then pushed the culture and made history. Their work should be recognized along with some very deserving nominees. Having said that, I'm happy for America Ferrera and the incredible artists who contributed their talents to making such a groundbreaking film. Um, like, that's gotta feel so weird for him.
Well,
That,
yeah, because like obviously he's nominated. Like he's probably like, oh, I'm really happy as an actor. I'm nominated for this role that I put a lot into. But then the other side's like, oh, I wish my cast, who was deserving too, got nominated in their roles. I don't know. It's. We'll get to original song. I don't want to spoil my thoughts on that, but there's a comment to say about original song too with our pal Ryan Gosling. But yeah, it's difficult, and Margot especially. I don't think she's ever been nominated for an Oscar.
yeah.
Greta at least has. She's been nominated for director for Lady Bird. I'm going to look up Margot Robbie. She might have been nominated for I, Tanya, which is a phenomenal movie. If you have not seen it, I, Tanya is great. Margot Robbie is good in everything she does. All right, let's look at Margot Robbie awards. Maybe Wolf of Wall Street. I don't think she has been nominated. Here we go. Here's awards. Let's see if she's been up for an Oscar. Academy Award. She has been nominated for I, Tanya. Nominated, did not win. Best Supporting Actress in Bombshell. Okay. Nominated. Best Picture was Barbie. That's it. That's all. So she was nominated for I, Tanya, but didn't win. And neither did Greta Gerwig. She hasn't won an Oscar either. So it's
Which
interesting.
is it's just so unfortunate. And now I'm having trouble confirming what I saw on Instagram
Mhm.
because I did see a video about how everybody in the academy um can vote for best picture, right?
Right.
But supposedly only a certain handful of those individuals who have at some point been nominated for best
Mm.
director can vote for best director. Thus, the insignificant amount of females who have been
Yep.
nominated for best director means that you're looking at 97% male
Right.
voters,
And again,
which
there's
means
probably
it's
like 5
not fair.
directors that are women that have been. I know
Yeah,
Ava, I forget how to pronounce
DuVernay.
her name. Yeah, she's been nominated for sure. Greta has been, and then whoever won that, the original one, I forget her name. Those are the only 3 female directors I could think of that's been nominated, which
It
is
is
crazy.
it seems strange to me. Like, I understand them wanting to be like, okay, if you're costume design, we shouldn't have someone who's a cinematographer deciding who to nominate. Maybe voting is different, but nominating, okay, I can respect that. But at the same time, I feel like there should be some level of checks and balances. Maybe everybody votes, but people who were directors, maybe those people, their vote counts more or double or something. I don't know. It just seems wild to me that in this day and age, for a point that for a year that is supposed to be overall a much more diverse voting crowd, fell into this loophole. So again, this is something that I saw on Instagram and TikTok. It was a video going around. But based on my limited amount of research I was able to do just now, it does sound like that's relatively accurate, but I cannot guarantee that 100%. So if anyone who is listening knows more about this, please message us. We were intending to do a lot more homework before this, and the day completely got away from both of us.
As always, I did find out that only 3 women have won Best Director. So Catherine Bigelow, who was the actress, I mean not the actress, director I was looking for, was The Hurt Locker. Zhao, who I believe did I want to say Nomadland, so that probably won, and then Campion, I don't know what they did. So yeah, that's those are all the directors, female directors that have won. Let's get into costume design just quickly. This one I don't have as much of an opinion or thoughts on, but Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. For my personal taste, I'd probably go Poor Things, but I'm
Poor
not
Things will probably
as
win.
yeah, I could
Or
see that.
Barbie. Barbie could win for it because it's
Killers of Flower Moon too, though, because it's all Native American, which is really cool. Like all the
mm-hmm.
those looks. So I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert on that. We have makeup. I'm probably gonna just skip that because again, I don't know as much. Live action short film, animated short film, adapted screenplay. Let's do this. We have American Fiction. Still have to see it. Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. The Zone of Interest is a British film, I believe. It looks like post-apocalyptic. I don't remember what won screenplay for the Golden Globes, but Oppenheimer swept. That's something I do remember for the Golden Globes is that Oppenheimer just won everything, which was
and
crazy.
and to be fair, Christopher Nolan's screenplays themselves read like
Right.
art.
Mm-hmm.
Like just physically reading it is or they're always stunning. They're always beautiful. So I could see that being really attractive. Although, have you ever seen clips or not clips? Have you seen segment of Barbie's screenplay?
No, I haven't.
Like a script to screen? It's actually really intriguing because the characters are all named Barbie, right? But they're
Right.
named Barbie Margot or
So
Barbie
like
Danielle
the
like
actor.
yeah, they're named after the actors afterwards. Um so it's really intriguing to read it, and like the scene that I saw was the scene where they were doing the party dance and she's like, have you ever
Mm-hmm.
thought about death?
Right.
And then I won't forget, it says literal record scratch. Like it's very entertaining, so it pops to life
Mm-hmm.
right in front of you. And I think to me that's what qualifies a good screenplay, is when you can see the film in your head. Rachel has a good question, and I don't think I distinguish this. What
Mm-hmm.
screenplay versus adapted screenplay?
Adapted is based on a book or I guess also real life. So Oppenheimer either is based on a book, but also it's based on a real story. So that's adapted. The OG, the original screenplays are things that aren't based on other things, which we'll get to. I
Okay,
don't even know what's
got it.
nominated in there. I want to see what won best. So Anatomy of the Fall won best screenplay for the Golden Globes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we'll see if that makes a difference for the Academy Awards. Because again, sometimes it plays out that's the same exact thing that happened in the Golden Globes, and then sometimes they'll do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Original screenplay. So Anatomy of the Fall, which was the one I just said, right? So that's the difference too. I think Golden Globes doesn't have adapted and original. I think they only have
Mm-hmm.
best screenplay. The Holdovers, which I think is a fantastic film. I really liked it. Maestro, which I thought was a horrible film. I really hated
Oh, that's a bummer to hear.
it.
I really want to watch that film.
It's visually interesting. Oh, we lost Amy, but she'll be coming back. It's visually interesting, but I didn't really like it from a story standpoint. I thought it was too much, and most people thought it was too much. So I was like, am I the only one who feels this way? And like everyone on Twitter disliked it.
That's really unfortunate because for years I've had a brain worm in my head of wanting to write a film about a famous composer.
Mhm.
Like I think that those stories are really interesting.
It's not much
I
about the
still,
composing, I'll say. I wish it was, but it's not much about
but I mean
that.
it's about his life, right? Like what goes into it. No.
It fast forwards parts of it.
Mm,
That's the part that it probably is. It's like it was too surface level. It didn't really scratch
that's
any
unfortunate.
itch, and I think that's the thing I very much disliked about the movie is it didn't really have one cohesive idea and didn't do anything besides the dancing great. The other ones is May, December, and Past Lives. We talked about May, December. We did a whole
We
entire
did.
podcast. I will talk about supporting actor in a bit of my
Okay.
disappointments of, May, December not being nominated. Original screenplay. I mean, Anatomy of the Fall probably will win, but I really like The Holdovers. I thought it was a fantastic film. It was a Christmas type film. It's very old school, and that's something I really enjoyed. Was how do you have this nostalgic feeling of watching an old Christmas movie made in 2024, and it was really good. And honestly, Holdovers won a lot in the Golden Globes too. So we'll talk about that. Any other thoughts on screenplays in general?
No, I'm bummed to hear that Maestro was not great.
Yeah,
And so
wasn't a fan.
if yeah, and that's always too, as I'm always curious, like, okay, if this maybe the movie wasn't great, but was the screenplay better? Like, did they just not
I would
finish it
say I
well?
think all of it
In this case, it
seemed
sounds like
pretty
as well.
bad. Yeah, the only thing I could maybe give it was that the directing was interesting, and you could tell that like he enjoyed himself. Bradley Cooper enjoyed himself making it, but I don't think anyone else really enjoyed the movie. Supporting actress is Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, who I always forget is in the movie as well. Oppenheimer, it's funny, and I think I mentioned it on this podcast. I play Movie Grid with my friends, and it's a lot of times like, oh, Academy Award winner, or like, what movies is Emily Blunt in, or whatever. And I always forget all the actors from Oppenheimer. I'm like, they're in it? Totally forgot they were in it. Like, because there's so many actors, and they're all pretty forgettable besides the main character. So but Emily Blunt's up for Oppenheimer. Daniel Brooks, Color Purple, which I'm really happy about. I have not seen it yet, but I like Daniel Brooks a lot. Barbie, which we're going to talk about, America Ferrera, Jodie Foster Nyad, and then Davine Joy Randolph, Holdovers. Most likely Holdovers will win because she's been winning pretty much every award, and I think she deserves it. I think she's great. America Ferrera was not nominated for any other of the awards, and she's nominated for this.
Yeah.
It sucks that she wasn't nominated for all the other awards, and it's really cool that they noticed her here, though.
It's probably her monologue.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
I've always, it's intriguing to me from, as a stage actress to think about how it can really truly be. Sometimes it's just one scene, it's one monologue, it's one moment that will define your entire
play,
your entire
thing.
arc for that show. It's funny because you look at things like Shakespeare, and it's been done for so many years that they know where those moments are. But in something like this, an original story and an original presentation, like, she knocked that monologue out of the park. There
Even
is
Meryl
no
Streep
way
was saying she loved
was
the
like, I
monologue.
want to do that
Yeah.
monologue. Like, she killed it. And there is, I think for me, something that, like, I look at it from a perspective of, there is no way that I physically, as Amy, could do that monologue. Like, there's no way you can even touch it. It is her monologue.
Right.
She 100% owns that. Anybody who tries to do that monologue now, you could do whatever you want, but it will not be that monologue. It is her. She owned it, and that is so powerful, and I absolutely love that as a character. Like, and I think for an actress to get that recognition is so well deserved.
Yeah, and I hope she gets her accolades for it because she
I don't think she'll
was
win,
great. No, I don't think so either. I still do think
either.
it's the actress from Holdovers, and again, I'm very okay with that. I think she did a very good job. All right, moving on to original song because I have a lot to say about this. The Fire Inside, The Flamin' Hot. I haven't seen the movie, but I heard it was good. It's Just Ken, Barbie, and then It Never Went Away, American Symphony. We got Waza Hazi. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but that's Killers of the Flower Moon. And What Was I Made For, Barbie. I want to talk about I'm Just Ken because I'm sure you know the scene where I think it was, I want to say it was the Screen Actors Award, where we get to see Ryan Gosling win for that song. He's like, what?
And he was like, what? Like, he was just shocked.
And I don't know if it's because he thought like, oh, like I'd never win, or is like, why did I win? Am I gonna get this Oscar now? Like, what's going on? Like, I think he has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of thoughts in his head because also the shoe-in is Billie Eilish. So it's just like she's been winning everything else, and that's
Mm-hmm.
been the big song that they've been spending money on promoting to be nominated for
Mm-hmm.
an Oscar. So it'd be really, really weird if that wins, and it again goes back to the whole idea of like all these women not winning.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where his shot came in, was like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? In the movie about Barbie, the
Right.
Ken song wins? Like, I think that's probably the frustrating aspect for him. Because
Sure.
I think on
Mm,
top of everything, he wants to be supportive. He wants to be um a part of the team, and I could really see and understand the feeling of like, wow, the team did amazing. We did a great story. Why am I getting the recognition for that? Like, I
right.
feel like I've been in those places before, and it's uncomfortable.
And interestingly enough, Ryan Gosling has been nominated for other original songs. La La Land, I'm pretty sure, was nominated for City of Stars. So it's just like this is
Hmm.
like the second nomination of a, I don't want to say a non-singer. He's a good singer, but like he's known for being an actor. This is like
Hmm.
another thing that he's going to be nominated for. But we'll
Hmm.
see. That one's going to be, that's going to be edge of your seat, because
Hmm.
if What Was I Made For doesn't win, I don't know. It better not be Ken. It better be one of the other songs.
Uh-huh. That would be the irony of the night, is Barbie doesn't win for anything else, only wins for the Ken song.
Yeah, we'll see. Next up is original score. I wish you watched some of these movies, 'cause I'm not as familiar with scores
Uh-huh.
and if they're good or bad. But American Fiction, Indiana Jones, of course, was nominated. Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I remember really liking Oppenheimer and Killer of the Flower Moon. Oppenheimer
Yeah.
because it builds that tension, and Killer of the Flower Moon because it embraces the Native American culture. And
Hmm.
I want to talk about Killers of the Flower Moon for a second. We'll talk more about it as we get into it. I really like that movie, and I didn't know if I would because it was so long. I tend not to love really lengthy films, but I really shouldn't question Martin Scorsese because he makes very
Hmm.
good long films, and it felt like more like a mini series of a television show. Like it moved
Hmm.
very, very well, and I very much enjoyed that movie. So if you guys haven't seen it, I think it's a
I
really
really want
important
to
movie
see
to
it.
watch. It's really important, and I think it's on Apple. I want to say I think it's streaming
Okay.
already. Yeah,
I do think it's streaming as of recently, so it's on the
yeah,
list.
it's really good. I'll skip documentary. Go to anime feature. There's some interesting ones here. We got The Boy and the Heron, which is Studio Ghibli, Elemental, Disney, Nimona, which is pretty big. Yeah, Robot
Yeah,
Dreams, which I haven't heard of, and then Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse. I don't know what's gonna win here, because
I don't
usually,
either.
because usually it's the Disney, right? It's a Disney effect. Every Disney movie wins. But then The Boy and the Heron has a Studio Ghibli background, and then Across the Spider Verse is just so well done animation. And then Nemona's this kind of like secret dark horse there. I was not
Hmm.
expecting to get nominated.
No, I think that's one of the ones where it's gonna be not a toss up, but it's gonna be the most challenging category.
Hmm.
And animated films in general, it's always challenging for me to look at them in this kind of a setting, because I feel like you can break down the animated films into so much more. Like, the animated film should have
Or
its own award show, and so it's challenging to be like, this is what they get. They get
or
one
they should be
nomination.
nominated for Best Picture more often. I think the only time it
Yes,
really
agreed.
was Beauty and the Beast. Trying to think of what other ones have been nominated for Best Picture. I want to say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was.
I think I think so too.
Yeah. So that might have been, there's not many that are nominated for Best Picture, but you do get it every once in a while. Hoping Nimona or Spider-Verse. Me too. I saw Elemental. I wasn't a huge fan. I think Boy of the Heron does have a big chance of winning. I've not seen it.
Hmm.
I'm surprisingly, and I hate to say this, don't yell at me. I'm not usually a big fan of Studio Ghibli films
That doesn't
because they're
surprise me.
so, yeah, they're very
They're
much
so
not for
abstract.
me. They're abstract, they're very environmental. Like all of it always has to
Hmm.
do with like his life or the environment, and they're not very character driven. So I tend not to like them as much, but I
Hmm.
appreciate them. I heard The Boy and the Heron was very pretty, but also people had different opinions on it. Like some people loved it and some people were like, it was just okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
We'll
all
see.
right, moving on to production design. I hope is Barbie at that point. Like
Yeah.
that's I'd hope so. Film editing, best sound, visual effects, cinematography. Let's do best
Wait,
actor.
who's up?
So
Who's up for cinematography?
we got El Conde, Killers of Flower Moon, Maestro, which honestly does make sense for Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. All I think
All
interesting
really
ones.
good
Yeah,
contenders.
yeah,
And I've not seen Oppenheimer, but I know a little bit. They do tell it half in black and white, right?
they do. Yeah, I don't know if
So
they
I think
do.
that
They use like specific film or they just do that through editing though. Because if it's just like if it's film, that's interesting cinematography. But it's just like
I feel like Christopher Nolan would do it through film. I'm gonna Google that while you read the next
yeah.
category.
Next category, our big one, best actor. They got Bradley Cooper for Maestro, which I don't think will win. Coleman Domingo for Rustin. Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, who did win the Golden Globe. Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Have not seen American Fiction, so I don't have a huge opinion, but I do think it's going to be between Paul Giamatti and Cillian. Just because again, Oppenheimer has been winning a lot, but Paul Giamatti in particular has been winning this category a lot. So I think it
Mm-hmm.
will be Paul, and he does. He does something so interesting in the movie that he has a lazy eye in the whole movie, and he doesn't have a lazy eye in real life. And I don't know if it's prosthetic. He won't say if it's a prosthetic or if he's doing it. So that's super interesting just from that standpoint. Are you looking
Okay, so
up
here's the
the film?
Oppenheimer info.
Okay.
Um, Committed to a non-linear narrative that would toggle between two distinctive time periods, the development and testing of the bomb versus his 1954 closed-door security hearings, Nolan decided the best way to portray would be to use color film stock for Oppenheimer's perspective and black and white film stock for
So he did.
Strauss's perspective. Um, let's see. They go on to say that the mandate was easier said than done because most film today is shot on digital cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer's cinematographer shared in the notes that he was unaware of any 65mm black and white film stock in existence, which required phone calls to Kodak Labs. And of course they didn't, so they were like, "Can we make it?" And they said, "Maybe." And they literally supplied us with prototype film stock, freshly manufactured with handwritten labels on it that they filmed on.
So maybe they should win.
So that
I'm
might
thinking.
win.
Yeah, that might win.
That's pretty cool.
Again, I thought it was just color correction because I was like, oh yeah, you just did it in
No.
Premiere probably. That's really cool that they
This
did it
this
through
is
film.
Christopher Nolan. He doesn't do
That's true.
anything like that. Man, he will flip a full truck in the middle of New York for a shot. Like
He's
he
like, that's a
blew
good
up
shot.
a hospital for a shot. So there's
That's
nothing.
true.
Christopher Nolan makes happen what he wants to happen.
He makes
I have
movies
really
for
good stuff.
sure. Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's good info. All right, let's get the best actress. Annette Bening
Right.
for Naiad. I have not seen Naiad. I don't even know what Naiad is. Let me look that up. Naiad is Jodie Foster's film. Okay. I actually think it's a queer film, which is cool. Is like
We'll
there's
add to
two
the list.
actors. There's two actors that play queer characters who are actually queer in Oscars, and that was a big deal because like, oh, that's doesn't usually happen. So that's awesome. Best actress: Lily Gladstone for Killers of Flower Moon, Sandra Huller for Anatomy of Fall, Carrie Mulligan for Maestro, and then Emma Stone for Poor Things. Lily is a shoe-in. She's again won everything. It would be a disgrace if she does not win the Oscar. I think honestly, it's the one I know the most is that Lily is going to win this category, and
Yeah.
again, well deserved.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet. I think for me, and you know this and our listeners
Mhm.
who've been here for a while, when I'm going to watch a film, I want to be prepared to watch the film and
It's a
really get
tough
into
one to
it.
watch. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I've been holding off for a little bit as I'm not in the state where I can watch a film like
Mm.
that and enjoy it more than be disturbed by it. And
Yeah.
I recognize that that is one of the things that makes film and television so powerful is the potential to be disturbed in any different way. Disturbed with joy or disturbed with fear or just disturbed in general by the film and movies, but not something I'm able to step into right now.
No, definitely understandable. I would say when you do watch it, it's so important. It's a story that no one really knows but should know. It's about this tribe that this all happened. It was covered up, and finally we get to hear the story. And yeah, it's a really really powerful movie. So go check that one out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Best director. We were touching upon it, but I think it's gonna be pretty obvious who wins this. We got
Mm-hmm.
Justine Triet, which is Anatomy of the Fall. Martin Scorsese or Scorsese. I never know how to pronounce his last name. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Contender.
Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos, which is Poor Things, and then Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Oppenheimer will win. That's my thought.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else is gonna take that one.
And I think I would be really curious, because what's interesting is if Barbie had been nominated, I don't think it would have won. Um, but I really want to see. I really really want to see who wins this. Like, this is the one that's the most interesting to me, even more
Mhm.
so than Best Picture. Like, this is the most intriguing one for me.
I'm always interested in Best Picture. Because those are the ones that surprise you. Because sometimes you're
Yeah,
like, I remember when Parasite won. Everyone was like, Parasite's not gonna win. It's a foreign
yeah.
film. It's just not gonna win. Like, we all wanted to win, but I forget which movie everyone thought was gonna win, and then Parasite won.
Mm-hmm.
It always surprises you. You really don't know what's gonna win Best Picture every year, and I
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So what are the
Speaking
options
of,
this year?
yeah, speaking of, they always have a lot of options. American Fiction, Anatomy of the Fall, Barbie, Holdovers, Killer of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. Past Lives, that's interesting that was also nominated for a lot of other awards, but didn't really squeak in any of the other categories besides Best Picture. I did see
Mm-hmm.
Poor Things. It's an interesting movie. It's a little, I don't want to say forgettable, but I think it's interesting. It's a romance movie, actually. It's about this.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I guess it is forgettable. I don't really remember everything that was about.
It's
We
my
we went to
understanding.
go
It's
see
kind
it
of sort of
randomly.
Frankenstein-y. Poor
Yeah,
things?
it's a
Are you talking about poor things?
no, Past Lives.
Okay,
It's
you
like
said poor
I'll
things a
give
couple
you.
times.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Past
Okay.
Lives. I meant. Past Lives is about Nora and Haesung, two deeply connected childhood friends, are wrest apart after Nora's family immigrates from South Korea. Decades later, they are reunited for one fateful week as they confront destiny, love, and choices they make for their life. So, um, it was interesting. It was a very quiet film, but
Hmm.
I'm glad I saw it. What I think is gonna win, Oppenheimer. What I hope wins. What I hope wins. I don't
Haha. This
know.
is
I
the
don't know.
challenge.
Yeah, because I mean, Barbie would be interesting, but I don't know if I want it to win. I do think I don't want to say because of its commercialness, because like obviously that's not what it should or should not be an Oscar film, but I think that between because I mean, Barbie did do a lot of different things when it comes to the feminist lens. 'Cause I was thinking like
Mm-hmm.
Holdovers. It just looks so interesting because it's like such
Yeah.
a it's a movie that I've never seen before. Like the way they did it is really really interesting. And then Killer's Flower Moon, like I said, it just feels like a very very important movie that hasn't been done before.
Mm-hmm.
There's been feminist pieces before, and obviously utilizing Barbie is really really interesting. But there's a part of me
Mm-hmm.
that's like I've seen this movie before.
Agreed. Um, I think you also have to look at it from a bunch of different angles and from a bunch of different perspectives. Is that it is overall director, cinematography, screenplay, and costuming. So you've got a lot of really well-rounded films in that, and it's going to be
Mm.
challenging.
It's a hard year.
It's yeah, that's which is kind of wild. I wish that I think the joke that they're gonna get up there and make is something about how like they tried to nominate Barbieheimer, but it didn't go
Hmm.
through. Like that, because think about it. Like if they genuinely had been like, you know what, we're gonna nominate these two films, like they're gonna win together. It would happen. I saw an interview with Cillian Murphy and Margot Robbie were talking about the fact that um, Christopher Nolan is very superstitious about the day that he releases his movies. There
Remember
was
Tenet?
no, yeah. Wait, what?
Tenet was like he was so upset that it didn't get a cinematic release because it was during COVID.
Oh, that's no. a cinematic release.
It was really short and didn't make that
It was
much money
very
from what I
short.
remember. Like,
Yeah,
he
because
was
the sound
really
editing was
upset with
shit.
it. Yeah, I'm sure. But it was like during the COVID stuff. Like, movies are
Yeah.
either just coming back or something happened where he was really upset with the release of that movie. But go on.
He's very superstitious about his date. So at one point, based on this interview, like the Oppenheimer people had released or had talked to the Barbie people and said, "Any chance you'd be interested in moving your date? Because we're not moving
Mm.
ours." And Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig were like, "No, let's just lean into it," and they did, and they started doing that like Barbieheimer thing,
Mhm.
and they literally were talking about how it did boost both of their
Sure.
stories, because of how insanely contradictory it was to literally have black and pink side by side.
Mhm.
But I thought that was really interesting in the interview. It was also really cute because Margot Robbie is a major Peaky Blinders fan. And so the whole time she has all these questions she wants to ask, she's like, "I'm sorry, can I just ask you about Peaky Blinders?" She just kept getting really into it. And Cillian Murphy's just kind of like, "Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ask me your questions." He's like, "Yeah, I love it too. I really
That's
enjoy
a
it."
fun back and
Like,
forth. Yeah.
oh,
I
it's
love
so
Margot
fun.
Robbie. I will watch any Margot Robbie film you put in front of me. I think she's a great actress. And she said she doesn't
I
mind taking a break, which is amazing. She was just like, "Yeah, I had this big movie. I'm just gonna like take a little
chill.
break now." Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's awesome." Most people will be like, "Where's my next role? I need to top it." And she's like, "I'm good."
Yeah. I think, and that just goes to show how comfortable and confident she was in making that film. So
She's
I'm really
the
proud of her.
Adele of movies, where Adele's like, "Yeah,
Yes.
I could release another song whenever I want. I'm confident enough it'll do well." Um, yeah,
Does that make
she's
Christopher Nolan the Taylor Swift? He's just gonna keep
probably
going.
superstitious, wants to continuously make movies. I don't even know what's his next
Hmm.
movie. I'm not even sure. I usually watch all his movies
It's
too.
I feel like he's either gonna, God, I'd be so curious. He loves his
Let me
time
look it
travel.
up.
He loves his
He
dark movies.
really
Yeah, what is he
does.
working on?
I did not
Um,
like Interstellar. That's one I tend to forget.
Interstellar was a slog for me.
The only one I have not seen from him is Dunkirk and Tenet. Those are only two I have not seen. Believe it or
So
not.
here's what's why I have not seen Dunkirk, and I'm fully aware of how much I will love Dunkirk, and I know
Hmm.
how much I'll love Tenet. I just haven't seen them yet. And you know what? I actually I think I might add them to my watch sooner rather than later list because I do really want to watch those. I just really love. I've read the screenplay for
Hmm.
part of Dunkirk.
What
Like
other
the
Christopher Nolan movies have
screenplays.
you not seen, or have you seen them all?
I've seen most of. I no, I haven't seen Dunkirk. I haven't seen Tenet, and I haven't seen Oppenheimer. But everything
Okay,
else I've
those,
seen.
yeah, I mean, you've seen most of them then. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. I feel like most people who have not seen every Christopher Nolan film, it is Dunkirk and Tenet for obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
those are two
Dunkirk is I've
films.
heard really good things. And it's funny cuz he has his like favorites. He has Cillian Murphy's in like every film.
Right.
Um but there's a reason. They just make such a good team.
Yeah,
Uh
he's an interesting blank canvas for sure because of the way he emotes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I started watching Peaky Blinders because Oppenheimer came up in an interview with Cillian Murphy. It was actually the interview with Margot Robbie and Cillian Murphy. She's like, "Peaky Blinders, Peaky Blinders." I was like, I should watch this. I've got Netflix now. So I watched the first episode and I was like, well, this is going to be my life for the next few weeks.
It's the
Give
new
up
ER.
on ER. I
Yeah,
gave
that's
up on
very long.
ER. So I started watching it and literally Cillian Murphy is physically 0% my type. But he walks into a room with a cigarette and he goes, "What's going on, folks?" And I'm like, I'm sold. I'm done. I'm on the ground. He's like, "You're gonna join the Peaky Blinders," and he's got this real strong accent, and he just sort of
Is he British? What is he?
invites you in. He is.
Okay, so he's
He
actually
is.
British. Again, he's such a
But
blank canvas. I don't know what his actual accent is. Something we didn't talk about with the Oscars was the host. That's very important. We have Jimmy Kimmel
mm,
who's hosting, and you know what? The Oscars always tends to fail to have a good host. It's usually not funny. Golden Globes, particularly, had a really bad host, and supposedly he had the gig 10 days before, and whatever, but it was bad. And yeah, I don't remember the last time an Oscars had a good host or be like, wow, that was amazing. Jimmy Kimmel, he does a fine job, but he doesn't do like, wow, that was great. So I'm also just curious about the direction of the show itself. But at least it's someone who's done the show a lot. So I'm guessing it's going to be very by the numbers Oscar. I don't think it's going to be hysterical. A lot of people liked the person who did the Emmys. Let me see who did it. They really liked her. I know it was a woman host. Let's see. Who is hosting? Oh, no, it was Anthony Anderson. There was a woman that hosted something. Oh, man.
SAG-AFTRA?
Maybe a SAG. Let's see. Who was the host? I don't know. There was a host recently that people really, really liked that did very good monologue. And really
Chelsea
nailed.
Handler did.
Yes, Chelsea Handler. That was it. People love Chelsea Handler. People love Chelsea Handler, which I won't say I'm surprised. I think Chelsea Handler is a fun comedian. But it's funny, that guy who did the Golden Globes was a comedian on the Chelsea Handler show. So he
was like openly offensive at more than one point.
I think he was actually her ex too. Oh, I know.
Dude, that Taylor Swift moment where she just kind of drank the champagne, I was like, that's the gif of the century.
Sure.
Like, that's it right there. Is wow. Yep, another guy making fun of me. Shocker.
That's what's great about award shows is the reactions that you're able to get and the gifs the things you'll get forever. But yeah, that's our Oscar rundown. I'm excited for the show. Maybe we'll do something for it. I don't know. Let us know if you want us to talk about the winners when that comes out. Maybe for a Patreon, we'll do it.
Maybe we'll do a Patreon bingo card, and whichever one of our Patreons gets the most will get something.
You get it. Shout out from us. Maybe you get to pick an episode. You get to pick an episode.
You go.
That'd be fun.
Oh, I like that. That'll be
fun.
We'll do something like
that. That'd be cool. Let us know.
Speaking of, you guys can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/thelegendaryladies. We've got a lot of
watch live with us.
Yeah, watch live. Certain levels you can join us live. Other levels you're going to be able to join in the new chat room feature that Patreon has that they're rolling out right now. So join us. You get cool behind the scenes things. You'll get if you were a Patreon this week at the most basic level, you will get a fun little sneak peek on what I'm doing next week for my vacation. Fun fact, I'm not actually going anywhere. Dun-dun-dun. And
Won't
it involves
spoil
a book.
anything.
That totally spoils it.
You spoiled it a little bit,
everything.
But that's okay.
It's pretty good. Can I read 800 pages in 4 days? We're gonna
You'll find out.
But yeah, you guys can find us on Patreon. You can email us, thelegendaryladies@gmail.com. Subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Stitcher, on Google Podcasts. Let us know your thoughts. Send us emails. Remember, the old email from the Legends of Tomorrow podcast days is not working anymore. Whoever is using it for Match.com, can you stop? That's actually, I mean, I guess go for it. We're not on it anymore. We just it's hilarious.
Continue. We want to see where
we'd like to see your matches. They are so far. You've had some intriguing selections.
You're finding love.
Find your match.
Not a sponsor.
And yeah, you guys like us on iTunes, leave a 5-star review. I'd love to hear from y'all. Rachel, who's in the Patreon chat, she joined live because she's a patron, said she has read 455 pages or 450 pages in one day. So here's the thing, I do actually think I'm going to be able to successfully finish this book if it does not emotionally traumatize me.
You might have to take a break.
Possibility. Yes.
Yeah.
Anywho, Kat, what do you got going on? Because you have some things going on.
For sure. I do have a Kickstarter live for another week. We have another huge one coming out soon. We have not officially announced it to the public yet, so next week I'll officially announce that. But yeah, like Father Like Daughter, it's a collection of my superhero books about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. So go check it out if you want the full origin story. It's the collection, and again, there's just like a week left of it. So I think this is the first time I'm plugging it on this podcast because it's been that long since I've been on, and we took that little bit of break. So go check it out before it's done.
Woo!
That's it for me.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Amy_hip, HYP, on Instagram. And I will probably be posting a lot of book content soon. So I am actually genuinely considering recording myself reading this book.
You should.
Because I know that I'm going to make some eeps and some squeals and some oh my gods.
You're going to murmur to yourself a lot.
I usually don't murmur. I'm a reader where I will like make that like those I can't fucking believe. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just said that on the podcast. Well, it's explicit
okay.
now. I will curse very loudly and then get right back into reading it. A very intense face. I also don't sit still well though, so that's a problem. Like I won't be able to like sit in the chair with the camera on me for 4 hours. I will
You'd be pacing. Yeah. Might have to have a camera and like
it's a GoPro.
Wide.
It's
Yeah,
on
like
the
a
book. Ooh.
that might be a good idea.
That's actually kind of a cool idea. Like you take the GoPro, you put it on the book, and it just watches your facial expressions.
That's a bookstagram right there.
That's funny. Anywho, I think that's gonna wrap us up. Kat, do you have anything else you want to share?
Nope, I'm good.
We are going to be back next week discussing Mean Girls, the musical that most people apparently didn't realize was a musical.
I did. So that's so interesting that so many people didn't know it was a musical, but
to be fair, the marketing was not great, but like, did nobody do your research? Anyway, we'll be back next week to discuss some interesting aspects of the new Mean Girls musical, the not musical. So thank you for joining us.
That is a musical.
That is a musical. Let us know your thoughts on the Oscars. We'll see who wins. If you're on Patreon, stick around. We're going to do something fun, maybe theoretically. We hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you later and stay legendary.